Beautiful. I need my cheat sheet here. Episode 99 with Matty Connolly, Euclid, Shapethrower, and Edict.
Woo.
I would say what instruments you play, but it's too many fucking instruments to include in that.
Nope.
We'll start with plugs here and then get into the fun stuff here.
Yes.
And again, if you're looking for a music video, you're looking for something unique and memorable, let's chat. Let's make something happen this summer.
He's the guy. He's the fucking guy.
I like to try and memorize the people's plugs, but I realize, you have way too many fucking dates here, so that's why I gotta read them.
No, read them, dude.
You can even see, like, the font is smaller because they just didn't fit in the space that I needed to fit it.
Nope, you're good, dude.
So for starters here, yes, for Euclid, the Warrior music video is out now. It's been out for a couple months now.
Hell yeah.
But Euclid has not been on here yet, I don't think, since then.
Nope.
So yes, please go check that out. That was a wild thing we did, I guess, in December now, or it came out in like February, March, somewhere in there.
Came out March,
March. Euclid's playing Tough Luck Festival in Boston on September 6th under Great American Ghost headlining that day. Shapethrower, July 19th at Ralph's in Worcester. August 16th at Fall River VFW. I don't exactly remember who those are with. I think both of them are headliners, possibly, or one of them's a headliner.
No, so one is a headliner, Ralph's a headliner. The other one is with our friends in the Miles Between.
Beautiful.
They're an OG band coming back to rip a couple reunion gigs.
Hell yes. That feels like it's before my era of musical expertise, but I'm sure they're fire as well. And then Edict, July 7th, July 12th. Sorry, I can't even read anymore.
Yep.
At Alchemy in Providence. And then Space Ballroom, Hampton with No Cure on July 21st.
Yes.
And then you're doing audio production as well.
Yes. I'm going to add one more show for you, because it's technically not announced, but it kind of is.
Okay, this will be out a week from today on Monday, June 30th. I don't know if that impacts anything, if the show will be announced before.
It might be announced. We might announce it this week. So, yeah. If not, we're dropping a bomb right now.
Cool. The exclusive is here.
November 25th, we're playing the Palladium with Entheos.
Hell yes.
Which is a Tuesday, which is kind of random for us. But lineup's really good. We fit. And I want to play there.
For that again?
It's November 25th, Tuesday, November 25th.
Isn't it Thanksgiving or like right at Thanksgiving?
I think it might be the week of Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Beautiful. I don't know if that's like the best or worst time to play a show. Is that everyone's gonna be home for Thanksgiving,
dude,
or everyone's gonna be home for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I never know with that kind of stuff, because I've played shows on like Memorial Day weekend, and it's like, are people out doing the things that they're doing, or is it because everyone's like in party mode? Are they gonna come out to the show? And I've had terrible and amazing turnouts. So. I don't think there's a rule.
There's always formulas, and I don't know if they're all true. I feel like everyone has like their secret sauce of what they think makes sense here. And like my example here is always like bands release on Thursdays, which to me makes no sense. Of like, I think the logic there is that like people have the weekend to check it out, whereas to me it's like people have the weekend to not be on their phones and not pay attention to this shit.
I always do Mondays and Wednesdays for that reason.
I'm a big Monday guy. To me, it's like, let's start the week here. So Monday, it's in your brain. So at some point during this week, you have time to check it out before the shit happens here.
People are driving to work. People are like, a lot of people like work with their headphones in and listen to podcasts or music throughout the day. Cause like, or if you're remote at home. Like, I sometimes releasing like an album on a Friday is kind of like, I think, a move, but I don't know. I still think during the week is better. I feel like it's just,
That's when
people are consuming media during the week.
Everything else, that's when I'm like becoming aware of shit that I add to my weekend to-do list. Like to me, by Friday, it's like I already have my budget of music allotted for the weekend. Like I don't have room to add it. Like I already know what podcast I'm gonna listen to on my drive Saturday. By Friday, because it's something that came out on Wednesday I didn't have time for. So to me, it doesn't make sense. But I guess the PR agents here are the experts here, and they certainly know what's best in theory. And I think a lot of this also revolves around like Spotify's like billboard kind of shit, like the placements, the charts kind of thing. I think it like resets around then. So they're trying to like spend as much time in rotation so that they can get the big numbers or whatever. But also fuck all that. I don't know.
I don't even, dude, it's crazy because like there's obviously numbers that anybody can look at and gauge an idea of like what works and what doesn't. But I think it's different for everybody in a way. So there's like no way to say like it'll work for that person or that band or whatever.
I was just having this chat the other day.
Which is like wicked fucking annoying.
One, I can hear like the fans in my ears for what it's worth. They won't hear it before they'll all be edited out. So it annoys me now, but it's fine in the future. So if you have the same thought, I'm audio ignorant, so I'm always aware that the person I'm talking to probably knows what they're hearing way better than I do.
No, you're good. So I figured you would have pointed out at this point if it was a problem, you would have fixed that.
100%. And it's
I trust you on
more
that
important to be like comfortable here and have a happy conversation. If that means the audio is 1% worse, I don't care. I'd much rather have a good time here than have perfect audio in a fucking miserable. It's 1,000 degrees. We're in the heat wave right now for anyone listening. But yes, I was just we were talking about the King 810 thing, and King 810, which is on the downbeat, and the vocalist David Gunn was saying they're putting out 3 albums this year. Which one is like PR agents would fucking hate that.
Yep.
And number two, they're saying that they want them out on the solstices, I believe.
It's fucking crazy.
So one of the solstices is a Monday. And they're like, we're putting out an album on a Monday. And they're like, well, this sucks. And he was like, well, that's what we want to do. That's what makes sense to us.
Yep.
And I think you're right. There's like things that work for Bring Me the Horizon.
Yep.
And there's things that work for not Bring Me the Horizon.
Yep.
And I was having this conversation with the band recently that I was putting a video out with. And they're like, should we do a teaser? Should we do a trailer? Should we like have this big rollout?
Yep.
And to me, it's like, no, Bring Me the Horizon does a teaser a month out so that the blogs pick it up, the podcasts pick it up, the state of the scenes of the world, shout out to those guys, pick it up. And that becomes free promotion, having everyone talk about it.
Yep.
It's like, if you're not having blogs pick up your thing, then you're just wasting attention, in my opinion. To me, it's like, put the thing out and then people can go watch the thing once they know the thing exists.
Yep.
And that kind of cryptic rollout to me is just kind of a waste of like, you're almost like dulling people to the thing. So when it releases, they go, oh, okay, that's the thing, and who cares?
Yep.
And I'm very firm in this camp of like, I think we should just put shit out whenever you want and then put it out suddenly. Like, I think this long rollout is just a waste of people's attention and a waste of like the novelty of a release.
Yep. It's crazy because it's just hard to decipher what really is like what works and what doesn't with people, just because I think you're like, it's weird. I often like want to do like a what is it, like a cold drop they call it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things about that is like, are we too small to where it will get overlooked entirely because it's like, oh, there was no like annoyingness on the feed about it, so I didn't see it at all. Because I've heard that from people or like random shit that I've posted where like, oh, I didn't see that at all, and it's like, that's fucking crazy. Because even if it gets like a lot of likes, like it doesn't mean that everybody that you want to see it sees it. So there's like, I feel like there's an absolutely fine line, and I don't think there is. Once again, I don't think there's a right and a wrong way. For Warrior, we kind of did like a little bit less than what we would normally do, and I think it worked out great. I don't know like what we're gonna do in the future. We have it's fucking hot news, I'm gonna say. We have another single coming out.
Beautiful.
I don't really know exactly the release date or anything yet, but like I don't know how we're gonna like go about the rollout for that. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And because they're singles that won't be on the next release, they're kind of just standalone things. Like I'm kind of willing to like try something. So we might cold drop it. I might convince the guys to fucking do a cold drop because
I'm biased towards it. I think I'm always in this weird position of like, I'm involved in a lot of releases, but I don't really like, I think bands are more knowledgeable on this because they can compare this release to last release.
Yep.
And for me, it's like, I can compare this video to the last video I shot, but the two bands are in very different places. Like everything is very different. The videos are very different. Like the size of the bands are very different. And so
the audiences are different.
And like the timing, I think, is also very different. Of like, if you put out a music video on Christmas, like I assume it does bad. And if you can find like a timing where there's not a big holiday or some big thing, like there is some value there. And so people always come to me of like, what should we do? And I'm like, try and see. And I think I come back to this idea of like, if Justin Bieber posts, it'll get views. If I post, it doesn't get views.
Yeah.
Like to some degree, it doesn't really matter. Like I think people like to time the algorithm. And to me, it's like when I open Instagram, the things I see are from 6 days ago.
Yeah.
It's just like my friend posted and I didn't see the thing. So Instagram goes here. So to me, it's like there's no difference if I post at 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. If I'm seeing posts from 6 days ago, Instagram is going to show it to people or they are not. And that is out of my control. And all I can do is try and be diligent and keep putting shit out and keep taking chances for this thing to happen.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. Dude, being an artist is so fascinating because a lot of it is like all fucking over the place.
Yeah.
And I feel like one thing Euclid kind of just decided to do is we're like, I don't want to like use these words because that's not what we're doing, but we're kind of like deciding to put a lot of our effort into other places that we kind of haven't before and our money. Whereas, you know, we've kind of taken a long time to write a new record. A lot of shit just going on in everybody's lives, but I think in the future we're going to try to put out more music and kind of less content-y stuff. Not even necessarily less music videos, but just like don't do like these big, huge album rollouts anymore. Like we'll do maybe one music video for a record, one single, then just put out the whole record, and we'll see how that works. I'm just kind of willing to try stuff at this point in time. Also being in 3 different bands is interesting because that's like I get such different reactions from different things and things that like I'm like, oh, Euclid does this, I'll try it with Shapethrower, and it either does even better than Euclid or doesn't do nearly as good as Euclid. It's really fucking all over the place. Being in a band, like lately, I personally have been like so fucking burnt out. I can't lie to you, like really bad, like really fucking bad. And I kind of like am trying like really hard to just like focus on the music, as cliche as it is. Because if I care about like all the other stuff, I like get like fucking really down on myself.
I'm the same way. I'm a numbers person. I like numbers. Like I am a statistic. I'm a logic. I'm a rational. I like numbers.
Yeah.
And I have to be very intentional. Like, don't pay attention to them. Like my job is to put out the things that I like at the moment that I want to put it out. And if it does well, great. If it doesn't, sucks. But that can't be my validation. I cannot be doing this thing in search of numbers, because then I'm going to make this shitty watered down product. That's not the thing I want anymore. That is a thing in search of public validation. And I don't think that's where any good art has ever come from, is this pursuit of public validation. I think there's some part where that's relevant. And again, I think this is where we come back to like the Bring Me the Horizons of the world. But I think we like, to me, like Knocked Loose is always the best example of this. Of like, I feel like they've always just done exactly what they want to do when they want to do it. They have never given a fuck about whether it is cool or like Brian's vocals do not fit in what we would put. Like if there was a vocal starting tomorrow, we would never be like, sound like that guy. Right. There was 100 other more traditional stereotypical things. And it worked. And they have every step of the way been Oldham County. It's like everyone would have said like, hey, no, be bigger than that. Be like Kentucky. Be something that's like not so niche to you. And this is something Liam from Mortal Reminder was on here a little bit ago. And he described Matt from Boundaries in the same way of like, no one starting vocals would be like, that's the way to do it. And then Matt was like, this is what I'm doing. You're going to like it or you're going to fucking not. And it worked. And I think there's a lot of value in that of like, there is a game, if you want to sell out, to use that shitty term, which I also hate, because I think we all need to sell it to some degree. I think there's some like...
You want your audience to like you.
100%.
And there's a way to like cater to them and make sure that happens at least in a very base level way. I don't think there's like a...
And I think it's shitty to be like, I don't want public validation. It's like, well, then why the fuck are you putting in anything on the public? If you don't want public validation, then just make the thing, leave it on your hard drive, and move on with life.
I think like validation too is like not the wrong word for that, but it's like, everybody likes when people like their stuff. Like, I don't think it's considered necessarily like valid. Like there are obviously some people who like do need that to exist. But I think if you make art and you put it out, there's obviously a reason why you put it out, or you wouldn't. And like, not even in a bad way. Like you don't feel like you're good enough, but it's like, some people do just like have fun playing just guitar and like, don't care. They've never wanted to be in a band, or they do, but they don't, it's not a priority to them or whatever. They just like to play the guitar. Or they just like making videos. And there's plenty of people like that exists, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But if it does matter to you, you got to think about who your fucking audience is, bro.
100%. Yeah,
you got it. It has to be in the equation at some point.
At some point, yeah. And I think it's naive. I think people want to be like too cool. Like, I don't care what people think, and it's like, yes, you fucking do. Like
that's a lie, dude.
It's inhuman. Not like we are social creatures. We care about what the pack thinks of us, what the tribe, what the herd thinks of us. And it is naive and almost like egotistical to be like, no, I don't give a fuck. And it's like, yeah, you do. And by saying you don't give a fuck, you were trying to posture to seem cool so that people think you're cool, which is you posture. Like, it is this bizarre.
It's a weird, it's a vicious cycle, dude. There's a lot of people that are like that too, which is a bummer because I think that, I don't know, it stifles a lot of people. And they don't even realize it. I find myself being like that sometimes, genuinely. It's difficult. And I'm like, am I doing this for myself or other people at some point? In like a good or bad way. It's like, that's where the balance is. You got to find that balance.
And it's an impossible one to manage, right? Because you're right. There has to be both sides of this equation in there. I think you're in a unique spot here where you are in the 3 different projects plus production. So you get a bunch of different perspectives here. I think that a challenge I run into, or maybe a better way to frame it, is like, one thing I love about my job is that every month I'm in a new camp. Every month I have a new 5 set of bandmates that I am a part of for that month, for that release cycle, for that process of making a video. And I get to absorb what makes them good. I get to observe what I don't think works that great for them. And then I get to move forward and join a new band and take what I think worked great and leave behind what I don't think works that great. And I think a lot of people get stuck in one band or are in one band, and they just are in this ecosystem for too long. And it's almost like an echo chamber where they don't get the ability to figure out what works and what doesn't work.
And they also like, I feel like people create like expectations for themselves that like are unrealistic. Or like even for their art, like expectations for their art. Whatever. Like, I fully agree with you.
And there is like the beautiful artist thing of like, I just want to put out the music and let people hear it. And it's like, that's not how a band works. That's not how any of this thing works. Like, I think you're right with the Euclid example of like, it's a beautiful idealistic thing to be like, we're just going to put the thing out people are going to come to. And it's like, no. The money has to go into the marketing. The money has to go into the advertising. The money has to go into other places, because if we put all our money into making a record, no one's going to hear this record. And that's also kind of useless to us here. I think you're in a unique part with this, like 3 things. Is there like how do you balance, I guess, all these? That was one of my big things here. Is like, it seems like you've got a ton on your plate.
I do.
And trying to balance all that seems very tough, and trying to prioritize, and like every band, wants to be the number one band in your life. I assume that is the natural thing. It's like no one wants to share a band, mate. Everyone wants to be like, no, you're here first, and they're on the back burner.
Yeah,
and then you have to go between 3 different bands and be like, I'm your number one. I'm your number one. You can't be everyone's number one.
There hasn't
be your number one.
Yeah, luckily, dude, there hasn't been too much crossover, which is like really awesome. Pretty lucky that I don't have that.
Yeah.
There's been some instances, but it's one of those things where it works out, and it's never like a bad thing. I also mostly trust my band members to like, if there's something they really have to do without me, like I trust them to hopefully want to do that, go and do it. But it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Balancing it is incredibly difficult, I will say, though. It's not easy. I definitely, in the past, like 8 months, have had like the least me time I've ever had, which is unfortunately incredibly important to me. And that's where the burnout has come from.
Yeah.
I also like, it's difficult. It's what I also want to do. But I also found out really quickly that I do value like having like vacations with my wife, like things like that. But it's been great. It has been great. It's definitely not a negative thing. I'm finally slowing down. This is hilariously the last thing I've had booked for like probably the past like 8 to 12 weeks of just like nonstop gigs, recording bands. Literally all 3 bands have had crazy shows. Like, so I definitely I'm getting a lot better at giving myself free time. And like I said, I learned that very quickly and definitely the hard way that I need to do that for myself.
I'm the same way where I'm like, I am wired to work harder. Like, I think this is, I grew up as an athlete. I feel like I'm like a musical implant. And I feel like a lot of the musical artistic people I meet are very like happy to put their feet up and happy to like chill. And it's like, that's not me at all. Like my thing is like, if I am not working today, someone else is working and they are now getting ahead of me. And that's a race that I am unwilling to lose. And I don't know if I can win that race. It's an unwinnable race to some degree. There's always gonna be someone else who is better than me in some capacity.
It's always gonna be the next thing, dude.
But I refuse to put my feet up and let them gain ground on me. And that's a blessing in a lot of ways, right? I think that is what has empowered me to get this business off the ground. And like, I think this podcast to me is another example of like, I'm not making money up. Like, this is not an enormous thing, but most podcasts don't make it past 5 episodes. Like, I could count on, I would need more hands than I have to count the amount of people I've seen start and end a podcast in the time that this thing has been running.
Yeah, dude.
And that is not that this thing has changed my life. It has absolutely, I think, benefited me in certain ways. And I think it's just an exercise in consistency. And I think the same thing, like my camera started with photos. It's all started with photos. And again, I can count the amount of, I would need more limbs than I have to count the amount of people who started when I started or were going when I started and have since ended. And I don't think that's a factor of me being better, more gifted, anything. It's just that every single week I was willing to show up. I was willing to eat the bag of dicks. I was willing to volunteer for free work and do whatever it took to keep me afloat and keep me getting to the next week. And I think that is a valuable trait that has served me very well. It's also fucked me royally of like, I have, in a lot of ways, what I have in my life is my business, what I have in my life is my work. I don't have a lot of that. Like I got into golf in the last year or two. It's like my first hobby. And it's the first thing that I've been like, I just like doing this and it is not for work. It's not making my life better. It is zero value from this. I just want to do it. So I'm going to do it. And that's been a huge like breath of fresh air for me of like, oh, this baby that I love that I'm investing everything into, I can invest everything into that. But it will fuck me over if all I do is invest into this thing. And I'm hearing you kind of say a similar thing here of like, the bands are what you want to do, the productions are what you want to do, like music is where your life is. But you can't put 100% into you of it for that long. Like there is some point where you have to go, okay, who is Matty? And Matty can serve these things, but you cannot be a servant to all these things that still exist.
It's kind of crazy because when I put it in perspective, I've pretty much have been in an active band. And obviously like my first bands weren't the same as the ones I'm in now. But I've been in active bands that like were actively trying to grow and do better and play bigger shows and get their music to more people since 2011. I have not stopped. Literally not stopped. I tell myself that there were like, there's definitely lulls. Like a lot of people don't know that like after In Depths and Tides ended in 2017, like that nothing actually ended aside from playing shows. All of us would still practice literally every week. We wrote new music. It became Euclid. But there was about 2 whole years where like we were just fully, nothing changed. Not a single thing changed. I was in 2 bands right up until that point as well. I was playing drums in like this other hardcore band. And then Shapethrower, because Euclid or In Depths and Tides kind of like took a lull, Shapethrower was able to come up. So right back into 2 bands. So I've literally like never stopped. Like I think that I have, but I really haven't in 14 years, which is fucking crazy.
I look back, like the pandemic to me, for a lot of people, was a time off. The pandemic to me was January 2020 is my first time being like, I'm going to be self-employed. I'm going to leave a normal job.
Dude, there's so many people that happened to that year.
And that, like, obviously by March, the entire plan there changed.
Yep.
And I think the natural thing, the obvious thing, and what I often like retrospect think happened is that I took time off. And it's like, no, that's when I learned all the green screen stuff. That's when I got into making 3D stuff as a way of like, this business needs to grow. I cannot be in person. I cannot be on site with people. So how do I create in a way that continues this thing?
Yep.
And in hindsight, it was a blessing. In hindsight, like that is what I'm asked about more now than anything else that I do is this green screen stuff that I think is, not that I'm the only person who does it, but it's more unique to do than other parts of camera stuff.
Facts.
And I think it's been this weird thing of like, I look back and I go, oh, that was a lull. And it's like, no, those were unbelievable.
You were just learning new shit
of pretty boring and like tedious and annoying shit of learning how to make a cube and then going from a cube to a house and from a house to a forest. And it's like this scale never stops. And I can relate to that where it is this like long-term grind that you kind of look back and go, oh, that was easy. And it's like you in that point in time would never have said this is easy right now.
And it's interesting too, because like I think that's another reason why like I have like I have a really hard time dialing back on certain things. Things that like you can dial back on in certain areas, you know. I have to do everything all at once all the time. My wife she's big about telling me like you put so much pressure on yourself, and I really fucking do. And it's just from years of like, it sounds so stupid. I hate this word, especially now with like it's come with, but grinding. That's what it is. It's like it's like dragging a massive cement block for years and years and years. And sometimes the cement block like plops out some little coins on the back end, like a little poop reward. And you're like, that's why I fucking do this. And there are moments where like, I'm like, why am I fucking doing this? But then I think about how far I've come, and it weirdly inspires me to like never stop. But then I like want to stop so bad sometimes just because I'm like, I don't know. I think one of the other big things too is that like I can do everything I'm doing right now for fun. I just straight up choose not to. I love playing guitar. I play guitar literally every single day of my life. I'll get wicked high in my basement and just sit there unplugged sometimes. Don't even plug in. I just enjoy it. I think if I wasn't in bands, that would never end. I wouldn't sell any of my gear. I would still sit at my house and record songs, probably send them to all the people I'm in bands with and be like, this is sick, isn't it? But sometimes I'm like, is the band thing like worth it? Like I don't think I have to remind myself that like it's not a yes or no thing. And I think that's fucking really difficult to like tell yourself that. You can have other people tell you that or whatever it may be, but convincing yourself that like certain things are worth it even when at that moment they might not be. I don't know. It's fucking difficult.
And I think worth it is also this bizarre category, right? Like worth it is not objective, right? I think
absolutely, dude.
It's worth it when you get to the top of the mountain. What I've had to accept is there is no top to this mountain. There is like there's
peaks, but there's no top.
Yes. And my thing is like, even if I was in Bring Me the Horizon, I think I would still be looking up at Metallica going, how do we get there? What is the next level of this thing? And to them, they would I bet if I talked to most of them, they would argue they're still on the treadmill, so to speak. They still feel like they have accomplished the entire world, and they're still looking up going, what the fuck is the next step of this? And so to me, that's also true on the micro scale of like, if I told 15-year-old me what is happening right now, he'd go, damn, you did it. And I would go, and me today would go, no, I haven't. I feel like I am a tadpole in the ocean. And I'm looking at great whales swimming by. How the fuck did you become a whale? I'm a little one-cell organism. How do I get there? And I think so that worth it question, it becomes like, well, what is worth it? Is there like, and I think speaking in cliches, it comes back to like the journey is the whole fun part. And so then I have to like take a breath and be like, all right, the part that I'm in right now is the best part.
Even like the parts that you think are the best parts is still part of every time. It's like, oh no, that's just a stepping stone. Like a perfect example is that the show you photographed for Euclid, the All Shapethrower show. That's probably one of the best shows I've ever played in my entire life. Everything that day was like a dream. How easy it went. The Palladium staff was like so helpful. Everything was incredible. We had like an insane merch spot that like we never asked for. That's just where we were put. Like just crazy shit that like aligned so incredibly well. And we played good. We sounded good. You got incredible photo. Like everything was incredible. And this is where like I know it's unhealthy, and like obviously the high of that lasted weeks. I was so hyped. I was on top of the world. I felt great. But it ended, and I was like, we are the worst band in the world. We need to do more. We aren't doing nearly enough. And that's like, that really happens. It really fucking does. And it in a very bad way, in my opinion, does minimize how great that show was. I think I need to like realize how good that is. But I think a lot of the times too, where like you do hit these peaks, and like if the next show isn't that good, you just think the worst. Naturally, a lot of people are fucking like that, myself included. And I think that's super terrible. And like most artists are like that. Where it's like, oh, this for you. It's like, oh, this video didn't like do as well, but like the band's happy, but I'm not happy. And it's like, no, the band's happy. That's it. Everything's, I don't know why is that bad to me? You know what I mean?
Yep. I have that same thing all the time of like, every time I go out, I'm trying to make the Mona Lisa. And I understand the Mona Lisa isn't the perfect example of our universe and what we're trying to make in our universe.
Yep.
But it is like, I'm not showing up to a video going, all right, this is a paycheck. This is a way to pay. Like,
You're invested.
I don't care about paying my bills. And it's like, I was having a conversation on set the other day of like, I would love to go back to $40 music videos.
Yeah.
In my perfect world, this would be a free thing where I just get to show up and do the thing.
Yep.
The issue there is like, if I charge $40 for this music video, I'm out of business next month.
Yep.
And now I can't do this thing anymore. And I think like that went from, I had to accept that like, it's not me wanting to do this thing. It is me doing service for these people that benefits them as well. So by me charging you money for this, I am doing good by you and by your peers by being able to continue to do this thing. And that is a bizarre, like egotistical statement to me of like, it forces me to admit that I am doing something that I think adds value, which I don't like. That's where to me the $4 music video thing is a beautiful thing of like, I can just do this thing. And if it comes out great, you got your money's worth. And if it didn't, you only spent $40 on it. So who gives a fuck? And I think in bands, there's a similar thing here of like, there is some beauty of no one listening to your music. There is some beauty of like, we're just doing this because the 5 of us want to be in the basement together and make this thing. And all of a sudden you play the Palladium main stage once and your brain goes, fuck, if I don't do that again, are we now regressing? Is this now a backward step? And it's like, well, no, that was a high watermark and there will be another high watermark in the future.
There absolutely will.
But it's tough. I'm curious for you, like, as someone who's in 3 bands, like, are you able to like parse these things out? Where I think the other part of this is like, you play the Palladium main stage and then Shapethrower has like a headliner somewhere. It's like, you could argue the headliner is the more prestigious thing, right? Where if one of them was an opening show that Justin Leach or whoever the booker was took a chance on you, that is potentially, and I'm can't kind of play devil's advocate here, of like, it's, you could argue that's less prestigious than a bar saying, hey, we're going to build a show around you.
Yes.
We want people to come see Shapethrower.
Yep.
But when you're on stage with Shapethrower and there's 100, 200 people there, whatever that number is, it's much different than a 5,000 person sold at Palladium. Are you able to like separate these things in your brain and like be grateful for them, or is it a reality shock?
Yes. So I'm glad you asked this. Yeah, hook me up, dude.
Please,
I'm glad you asked this, and the reason why I'm glad you asked this is because I think understanding the situation and kind of yielding your expectations to that is a massive thing. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to put this disclaimer out there because I would love to do this. This is for Shapethrower and Edict, what I'm about to say. And Euclid too, but I like headlining with Euclid. Yeah. Headlining means nothing. Yeah. At our level, headlining quite literally means nothing. I call it playing last. Yep. It is not headlining. We are not a headlining band. I don't even necessarily mean that we're like bad or like we don't draw people in the door. But I don't consider us like when we do have a good night, I'm like, wow, things are going great. But I've played terrible shows in the past 6 weeks. I've played incredible shows in the past 6 weeks. I think when you just have to, a big thing for me is draw. How many people do we actually bring in the door? Because that's the realest version of if people like your band or not.
Sorry to interject. That's also the only accurate way to gauge your past performances. Like I think everyone walks off stage and goes, "Oh, our tone was shot, my in-ears died, whatever." And it's if people show up to the next show, then you're wrong. You're objectively wrong. Yep. If they don't show up for the next show, then you are right to be critical. And so this draw thing becomes the only kind of valid metric. And even then, it's a circumstantial metric of like, was there another show in town that night? Yeah. Was whoever, like a Shapethrower, was Counterparts playing in town the same night? And it's like, well, fuck, people would have been here, but turns out Counterparts happened to announce the show the same night, and that's out of your control. And now the draw for the Shapethrower show is lighter. But it's not a you problem. It has nothing to do with you. And it becomes this bizarre balance of like, well, a draw is the only good metric, but it's a pretty flawed and volatile metric.
And it can change all the time. But I think one of the biggest things like about the different bands is like we do such different things, and I am able to kind of like not manage my expectations where I like have like low expectations or I think bad shit's gonna happen to any of the bands, but it's like certain places I know that if X band plays, like it's usually better than if another band plays, or like like we're playing with that Ralph show, we're playing last, and that's great because we do well in Worcester. Josh, our new bass player, and our vocalist are both from the Worcester area. A ton of friends. I have friends out there. They'll come out and hang out, and it'll be good. I don't feel I don't feel against that. But it's when we play like a brand new place and we've never played. It's like, and people will ask, especially Edict. Edict gets it 24/7, and we just started straight up asking for more money if they want us to headline, because it's like, you're taking this chance. We want you to know that like we are happier to play third because we think it'll be better for everybody if we play third. And usually, sometimes even at shows, we'll be on the flyer, top of the flyer, and we'll get there and we'll be like, dude, everybody in this room has the other band's merch on. We should play before them. Like, let everybody who wants to be here stay here all night. You know what I mean? And those are things to just like pay attention to. I don't know. Going back to the headlining thing, I don't feel like it's like it's such a or a point of pride for like some people. And for me, I'm like, if it works out where like the room is full at the end of the night and everyone did come to see us, fuck yeah. But it means absolutely nothing if the room's empty. You know what I mean?
A very weird like self-worth conversation tied in here. And what you say is like, we think we deserve to play third. And it's like, no, you don't, because you're being asked to play first. And they wouldn't ask you if they didn't think you were worth it.
Yeah.
But it is this bizarre thing of like, we look at ourselves in this critical light. And for me, I have to like,
also some people think we're bigger than we are. I'll say that too, which is like flattering. But I'm like, let's be real. Like, that might be not the best idea. Like, you might like the band, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone else does.
100%. I have the same thing with music videos, right? Where people will be like, you're coming, it's this. And it's like, I'm just me.
Yeah, the song sucks. The song sucks, bro.
I am just me, and I'm the same me that I was in 2016 when I had to volunteer for 100 projects and work for $0 for the whole year.
Yeah.
And it's the same version of me that now can pay my bills with this thing.
Yep.
And it's this like, what is worth it? When am I worth it? And it's like, I don't think that answer ever exists, right?
Yeah.
I think I heard this example laid out of like, there's a universe here where we end up playing next to Taylor Swift and going, well, I don't belong in this room. And it's like, well, you wouldn't be in the fucking room if you didn't deserve it.
Facts. Yeah.
And so as we scale that down here, it's like, they wouldn't be asking you to headline if you didn't deserve it. I wouldn't be hired at the thing if I didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I feel like I deserve it.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes this bizarre challenge of like, well, how do you overcome that? And I don't think anyone does, right? I think that the answer is that like the people playing the big European festivals this month are all headlining all these festivals in the festival season we've seen. It's like, they probably all got the offer and went, I think Sleep Token should do this. And Sleep Token probably got it and went, I think Korn should do it, or whoever is above them right now. I don't know, whatever.
No one technically, I don't think, but yeah.
Probably, yeah.
But Korn is probably like, they should play last.
even that Sleep Token probably got the offer and went, half of this amount of money feels about right.
Yeah.
But we'll take it if you're offering it.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, well, how do you ever feel grateful? And you have to enjoy the process, right? Like, I think that there has to be some moment where you step back and like let other people dictate your worth.
Yeah.
But then it comes back to this thing of like, well, other people dictate my worth. I'm fucked.
Yeah. See, I agree with you. I think once again, dude, it's like everything we've said today.
Yeah.
This is a fine line. And going back to kind of like the draw thing, what I remembered my point was halfway through, was that like certain places, I'm like, if this many people show up, we crushed it. And it might not even be a full room. Euclid played a headliner in January at Alchemy in Providence. And last time we played Providence was 17 months prior, and we did about 120 people. And I forget the amount, but we did more. And the room was not full. It did not look full, but there was more people in the room in the same city we played 17 months prior. That is a win to me. That means that more people are interested in coming. And those are the situations I look at. It's just like, are we even inching up just a little bit? Because that's still progress. Is it enough? That's the golden question, of course. But that's the kind of stuff you got to look at. Like Ralph's, like, I know what we're capable of there, and I hope we pull that off and do a little bit extra. And I think that's really all you can ask. And as long as people are there having a good time, and there's a couple new faces, and you sell some T-shirts, that's always like, I'm in the green. That's what I always say. Like, everything's great. That's why I'm always kind of cool with taking like shitty shows in like new places, because I'm like, it is a chance. Like, if we crush, like, that whole room could be all brand new people. There could be not a single person I know in there. And I've been like asking like our vocalists to like ask like who's seen this before, because crowd interaction is fantastic, and that's such a fun way to immediately see who's brand new in this fucking room. And those are the times that I have to remember, like, oh, that's actually really like, yeah, there were 8 people here, but all 8 of those people are brand new. So we're winning already.
Is there a difference here? I remember last time you were here, we talked about how like drums were like a scary thing for you and a guitar was like an exciting thing for you.
Yes.
I'm curious how these two things interact. So when you're on stage and the vocalist goes, "Who's seen us before?"
Yep.
Let's say every single person has seen you before.
Yep.
As the drummer, then is it like oh fuck, now I have pressure, or is it okay? They already like me, now I can play drums. And then there's the inverse here of like if everyone goes, the whole room is. Has anyone seen it before? There's crickets in the room.
Yep.
As a drummer, then is it like, oh beautiful, they don't give a fuck, I can play, or is it fuck, I have to earn their victory here? Like,
so
how
none
does
of them. I'm just going against myself every time, bro.
Okay.
I just have to make sure I am satisfied with my playing.
Yeah.
Because then I know the crowd will be.
Are you ever satisfied with your playing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, the last Shapethrower show we played last Friday, we like all got off stage and we're like, that was incredible. And that like does happen. It's rare, but it does happen. And yeah, it's great. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with drums since we talked last. Not even necessarily like play, like nothing has changed in like my practice or playing. For some reason, I've just like told myself like, just play. Like if I think too much, I'm gonna fuck up more probably. And that's like a new thing that I've been like definitely more comfortable. But yeah, just because of the fact that drums, there's no margin for error with drums, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm naturally just more nervous. But I've definitely gotten better since we talked last, because it's like I clearly have done it at this point fucking hundreds of times. It's like, what am I once again, it's just me in my head being a crazy ass.
I've had the exact same thing with videos, and I was in therapy for a long time, and like one of the big things my therapist left
probably
with
use
me,
some of that.
I think we all could do a degree, but
yeah,
I'm a big proponent for it. But I think one of the big things they left with me is like, what are you scared of, and how many times has that happened? And so to me, I'd walk into a video set and be like, I'm scared I'm going to ruin this, and it's all going to go bad.
Yep.
And it's like, well, in hindsight, that's never happened.
Ever happened?
And the only times that it has happened,
should you stay scared though?
I had to audible and go, okay, my plan A didn't happen. We have plan B, and plan B worked out fine. Yep. Everyone was happy in the end.
Yep.
And so it now is a similar thing of like, I still get anxious before video shoots.
Yeah.
But I'm a lot more comfortable being like, okay,
problem solving too. It helps.
It will go bad.
Yep.
We're going to get 80% of the plan done today.
Yep.
I hope it's 100%. It never is 100%. Yep. There's always going to be something. It's always going to be a Euclid video. We're going to get a complaint from the other side of the restaurant being like, hey, y'all are too loud. It's
I know.
All right, fuck. Let's audible here. Let's change this.
Yep.
And finding comfort in that. I think it's a similar thing for you with drums. Like there's a comfort of going like, okay, if I get off time, then what? Yeah. I will get back on time. And it will stink for 10 seconds and I will not like it.
Yep.
And as long as I keep my cool and don't shoot myself in the foot in that process, the song will finish, the performance will finish, and no one in the crowd will ever be the wiser.
Yep.
And again, for me on videos, it's the same thing. Like there will be a moment on every video set, inevitably. And I plan very intensely for this not to be the case.
Yep.
I also have to accept that it will be the case of like something's not going to go exactly how I thought it would. And in that moment, my job is to go, okay, now what is the best way forward here?
Yep.
And I have to just trust that I've been through enough things enough times that I will find a way forward that I am happy with.
Yeah, or even if the thing that's going wrong has already happened to you enough that you're just comfortable dealing with it for a second. Dude, last show, I have this awful tendency where I'm like, I got to make sure clicking guitars are loud enough in my ears. And we just switched like a whole new backtrack rig.
Okay.
And the audio is way cleaner. So I don't have to keep things as loud, but like my brain is still like, got to make sure it's loud enough. The last fucking Shapethrower show we played, the click and the guitar in my ears for the first song was literally so loud I could not hear the drums in front of my body. I would hit the snare drum and I could not hear the snare drum at fucking all, dude. And after the first song, I was like, well, just turn that down, which is a twist of a knob. It took 5 seconds. Everything was completely fine after that. But that song, I had to be like, okay, all you have to focus on is like the click. Don't even play anything cool. Just don't like. You're better off playing in the pocket and not adding fills, doing anything. Because if you do, you have no fucking idea what it sounds like. You don't know what you're doing. Like, just fucking ride the click, and it was fine. And obviously, it was completely fine. But little things like that is like, I know that if it's too loud, I just got to dial back, kind of like sit and like only focus on click and guitar. Because the guitar just like swallows it in my ears. It's just so fucking loud and clipping and fucking awful. But I do that on purpose. I want it to be that loud. But this is way too loud.
Too loud, yeah.
But what I was getting to is I've dealt with that already. So I'm like, now I know that if I do fuck up and it's literally damaging my eardrums, just fucking Lars Ulrich that shit, dude. Just fucking chill in the back.
Stay in the pocket. Yeah.
Actually, don't Lars Ulrich it because he's fucking.
That was a new wormhole that I got to dive into recently. It's like, why does everyone hate this guy so much? And reading the Reddit comments was very informative.
He's a good drummer. I'm not gonna. I love Metallica. I always will love Metallica, and he is a good drummer. But there are videos of him where he is not a good drummer, dude.
Yeah.
There's moments. He has his moments.
I'm also curious here of like if being in multiple bands has then been an asset for you. And my my backing story here is that like there's a book called Outliers that I read, and it talks about, it like goes through like, I don't know, 10 or 12 different things of like how unique circumstances made unique people.
Yep.
And one of the things about the Beatles here and how the Beatles, before they came to the US, were in the UK and they were playing bar shows from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. or just some insane like 7 hours every night or 4 times a week or whatever, like some insane amount of hours. That by the time they got here, they had been on stage for the 10,000 hours. That's one of the places that number comes from. It's like they had done so much. By the time they got on stage here, they were already experts. And even though they had played to 20 people at a time, it didn't really matter because they had played so many hours together that when they got here, they were like perfectly primed to then become what they became. I'm curious for you then, as like you're playing different instruments, which I think is an interesting variable here. But I feel like being on stage for that many hours, getting that many stage hours, going through so many shows, so many load-ins, dealing with so many promoters, dealing with so many crowds of different sizes and venues with different, too much AC, not enough AC, bad sound, good sound, whatever, all the like the annoying variables, like kind of behind the scenes variables, so to speak. Is that like a huge asset for you? Or is it hard to like then stay motivated for the next show? Like, does it help you? Do you feel like there's been a benefit from being in so many bands, or is it like detrimental because your brain is divided in so many places?
No, it's absolutely an advantage. More recently, especially with getting into audio, not even necessarily specifically that, but just the fact that you're right. I've been doing this for so long, and I like have kind of been reminded lately that like I do know a lot these days. I just turned 33 yesterday. I've been doing this for 14 years. I've been around musicians that are way fucking better than me. I've been around people who record that are way fucking better than me. They know and understand audio.
And you're too humble to say it, but you've also been around people who do a lot worse than you.
Yeah.
Which is like,
well, I was going to actually say that. One of the things that makes me feel really good, and like it gives me the confidence to kind of be like, no, I do know what I'm talking about. Like I can say mean things in a constructive way because I've dealt with both sides at this point. It is the fact that like all of my bands sound fucking incredible, and especially lately, never gonna name names, but yeah, I've played with some bands that are like really bad, and they're having a blast up there, and I don't want to ever like pull someone down in that way. But there's so many things where like if I was able to give them any sort of help, I'd be like, oh, change this. And I feel like they would be like, oh my God, I never even noticed that. And it's never like like I just have dealt with terrible things to know how to fix them at this point. That's really what it is. It's called experience, and that's all it is. And it's not like I'm better than you, I know what's good. It's like I've had to learn what's good. I didn't just like wake up one day and I'm like, oh, I'm right now. Like, no, it's like, why does this sound fucking bad? Like, how can I fix that?
And also that experience is like unique to this scenario where I think for me, the other layer of this, and I think for you, maybe in audio production, it's like, I didn't go to school for photo or video. Like I don't have 4 years of academic training. And I know for you, it's the same. And that to me meant that for 4 years, instead of learning the basics, I was out in the field going, this worked. This
being thrown into the fire.
And burning. And burning a lot. And catching on fire a lot and getting 3rd-degree burns that took a while for them to heal. But I got through them, and those scabs and those scars now are lessons that are valuable. And I think for us, there's a similar thing here of like, that's the best thing. Where when you're telling this band, like, change this, you're not saying like a textbook says you should do this. You're saying that like, I have done this, my friends have done this. And this is setting up for failure. And I've seen the same thing with photo. Or like my classic example here with like photo stuff is like putting your rates online, I think is a dangerous thing. Because
everything's different too.
Everything is different. Or
every person is different. Every product is different.
I had someone on here that I had to like off air was like careful with that because they were like, anything out of Connecticut is X amount of dollars. And I was like, anything out of Connecticut is a massive range. Are we going to India or are we going to Massachusetts? And these are 2 different budgets. And I've made the mistake, and I've had during the pandemic, I was doing videos and I put out an ad that was like, I'm trying to be vague here so that I don't compromise exactly what it was, but it was something like, I'll do 2 videos for $50. Like 2 promotional videos, like 2 commercials, kind of Instagram reels, 1-minute things. And so I went and I did one, and they paid me the $50. And then like 6 months later, they hit me up going, hey, let's do video number 2. And I was like, well, no, I meant like today. If in one day we film thing, I'll tell you 2 deliverables, we're good. And they're like, well, you said 2 for 50, and it's 6 months later, so come. And then my job then is to honor my word and go do this video that was effectively a free video. And so it sucked. For me, it was like, well, my intention was this, but that's not what came across. But I didn't add fine print, and no one should add fine print. And if they had reached out to me and we had talked about this, honestly, it would have been a thing. But because I was public about here's exactly what it is, and my exactly wasn't as precise as I thought it was, I got myself into a lot of trouble. And so it's like now when I see someone advertise their rates, I can be very clear of like, I understand why you think this is good. But you're gonna have someone take advantage of that. And also,
and almost people don't realize that they are sometimes. They're like, oh, it's just you're gonna give me the thing you said you'd give me. It's like, dude, that's so much work. Like I was hooking it up, and now you have no idea that you were going over the line. Yeah, I like a little. I know you do now because you're fucking pro as fuck. But you got a whole checklist that you ask people before you say any amount of time or money or anything, because everything could be different. You also like know the people you're getting into business with usually, and you can kind of be like, well, this band is like not as put together as the last band, so like I'll probably have to do a little bit more work. Like, and that once again, that's not a bad thing, but that's just the way the world goes. If you buy a beater car and you bring it to a fucking shop, they're gonna be like, well, we have to charge you a little bit more because we have to rebuild this fucking thing. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, there is,
and it's not that.
X factors involved in pricing, and I think location is one of them. There's also like, is Taylor Swift hiring me or is my sister hiring me? Like these are two different price points that we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, if the budget's there, it's like I'm able to kind of ask for more money and not even like an agreed way. It's like I know a lot of producers that work with bands that are very small and also bands that are fucking massive, and they're like, when I do that, I know that I can ask for a little more money because A, they probably want a slightly higher end product, or they're going to be okay or not okay with like something I would give to another band.
And it's worth more to them. They're going to make more money off of this thing. So 5% of their profits versus 5% of the local band's profits.
Yes,
like, this is
very different.
Same 5% that we're talking about here. But those numbers can have an extra zero attached to them.
For sure. Absolutely, dude.
And it's worth being mindful of. My other question for you here is like regarding the kind of 3-band topic here is like my understanding is that Edict is one of the first bands that you've like joined into, and everything else I think you've like built off the ground as your own baby. Has that been a different experience where I think there's two sides to this, where one side is that you can be like more carefree and so because it's not your baby. There's also the side of like, well, now I have to assimilate to a culture, and that forces me to be more on my toes because I don't get to define the culture. The culture has been defined. They are signed. They have already established themselves, and you are now joining an established thing rather than getting to define the thing. Has that been like a unique process for you? What's that experience been like?
Unique in the sense that I don't have anything like it, but I will say it's been incredible. I'm very grateful for the people that were in that band that they wanted me to join. And everything you said is pretty much the truth. I have to shout out George, my boy fucking George.
King George.
He is me in that band. He is the driving force. I know he's definitely happy that I'm in that band too, because I am also like that.
And you were doing the audio for them before, so
I was
a ghost member of the band, a hidden member of the band before.
I would help them with all their pre-production before they would go to Greg Thomas in Connecticut. And it's been a breath of fresh air. Hilariously, and I mean no shade, boys, I love you guys, but the music is also for me definitely on the easier side. I'm especially playing a stringed instrument. It's Euclid, which is like hyper precision fucking speed,
as intricate as it gets.
And I'm having a ton of fun. I think the huge thing is the fact that they arguably are probably like the most like built-in like support system, and the way George operates the band on like the merch and money side is like incredibly well done and very straightforward, and there's not a lot of stuff I have to worry about. George and Rich are alumni of the music scene in New England, and they have a ton of connections that normally, it's something that I would have to bring to the table, that they naturally just get from being, they're older guys, and they have a ton more experience than I do, about double the experience. And that really is the only reason I said yes, if I'm being honest, is because I don't have to really do much besides play bass and record them. I do more than that just because I enjoy being in a band, especially with those guys. It's very easy to be in a band with them. And but that's the only reason I said yes, is because I knew that I could just like kind of ball out and have fun, dude. And playing, I always call it easy guitar because it's just like I'm not shredding. I don't have to shred. You know what I mean? It's awesome. I love being in that band.
I'm so happy to hear that. I still like intrinsically look down on bass.
Oh, dude, and it's so important, dude.
I understand. I am too musically ignorant to appreciate how important it is.
Oh, it's so
I
important.
don't hear the low end in the way that like people always tell me is like, if there was a show that didn't have bass, I would know. And it's like, I think you're wrong. I think I would walk. And
it's one of those things. If I turned bass on and off, if you were sitting in my basement with me and I just tracked a song, I turned bass on and off, or in my car, if I could like just plug my computer into my car and turn bass on and off, you would be like, holy fuck, dude. Bass is so important that most people don't even know that when they're like, oh, the guitar sounds so good. It is actually the relationship between the two instruments that sounds so good. It's not one or the other.
Yes.
It has to be both. That's like such a huge thing. And I obviously, since mixing bands, like bass is my favorite thing because it's like, that's what makes all like the gooey, punchy, warm, extra special parts on breakdowns. Like it's all bass. It really is all bass. Guitar is just there for like aggression, but like it's not. Like, I mean, look at Meshuggah, dude. They almost did a whole record with just basses, bro.
It's one of those that, like, I understand that I am wrong.
Yeah.
But I can't quite yet appreciate the ways in which I am wrong yet.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that I have misjudged this thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still don't have the ears to appreciate exactly where my misjudgment has fallen.
Eventually. Well, I'll teach you at some point, dude. You'll hear it. I promise you'll hear it.
You'd think so. I also would argue that, like, my lack of musical ability is an asset for me at this point. Like, I have my E kit here that I've, like, learned because... to me it was like I know guitar enough that when someone says I have a tremolo part, it's like okay, I know what tremolo means. I can communicate this, or when someone says the 8th fret, I know what the 8th fret refers to. I know what a bar chord. Okay, I understand these very basic terms from my minimal experience enough that when I'm on set, I can communicate these things and I can relate to them, and like I understand like when their strings are too old, I know what that feels like and why that is a problem, and why new strings are good, and whatever, blah blah blah. I know this. Drums, I had no idea. When someone said I have a part in the ride, it's like I don't know what the ride is. I don't know where I don't know why. I don't know nothing. So the E-Kit was half an example of me being like, I am rhythmically ignorant. Let me see if I can teach myself this and like prove to myself that I'm not as ignorant as I think I am. And then part 2 was like, let me just be familiar with the parts of the kit. And so I was on set this weekend and someone like had the kick pedal attached to the kick and they were trying to figure out how to undo it. And I was like, I know exactly which knob to turn. I know exactly which screw to turn. But it then became this thing of like, let me just prove to myself that I'm not ignorant in this capacity. The drums. The flip side here now is that like I still don't have an ear for mixing. I still don't know anything about mixing. And that to me is a beautiful asset because when I get a song, I'm not hearing like, is the mix good or not? Do I like the mix? I am hearing a song. And I think my job is to make this song my favorite song for this month. And whether or not it's my favorite song, and as this thing goes on, I'm more able to pick my favorite song. Not every time is that the case. And especially early on, it's like I had a lot of songs that weren't my favorite song or were very far from my favorite song. And to me, it's a beautiful ability of being like ignorant enough to like, I don't know if this is good or bad. I'm going to decide that I love this thing. And I can be ignorant to whether the audio engineer did what I think to be a good job or a bad job here. So it's this kind of weird balance of like, I would like to know more because I'm a curious person. But I also understand that my ignorance is bliss here. And that by not knowing all these details, I am able to be more immersed in this process and focus on the parts that I need to focus on, not be distracted by the parts that don't really affect me or that I have no control over in this process here.
Dude, I've learned like so much from fucking recording. And it is kind of funny you say that because like a lot of stuff I've learned, it's taken a long time. I feel like I feel so new in the recording world, but I've been doing it for actually like a while now, about 8 years, not professionally in any capacity. That I would say I started it a year ago, like actually like trying to do this, but I would say even in the past like 6 months have I really like seen leaps and bounds and like actually getting better. But I think the funniest thing is, like you said, ignorance is bliss. And some things where like I can pick out things in songs now that I never really heard before, or like I'm like, oh, the guitar sounds that way, and now I know why, or now I know what they did to get it to sound that way, which is awesome. To a positive side of your point was with the curiosity about drums. I often kind of like have like no like a kind of like low self-esteem when it comes to like learning shit, and recording was one of those things where I was learning and I had no idea. And then eventually one day I was like, wait, like I'm actually getting better at this. And I'm like starting to like be satisfied with what I'm doing. Like, I guess I am learning. I'm able to problem solve. I remember when I first started using Reaper, my studio partner who works with me, I'd ask him like insanely asinine questions. And now knowing so much about Reaper and know how much he knows about Reaper, and because he recorded bands for years and years. He's probably like, dude, this kid is a fucking idiot. Because there's shit now that like, I'm like, I can't believe how expansive Reaper is as a software.
As a free software.
As a free software. And it can do so many insane things, but it took me 8 years to learn how to do a lot of them. And I think that's like needs to be stated how important that is, that like, no matter what you think, like if you're really into something, you're going to learn whether you want to or not. And it might help you notice things, and it might be terrible because you're like, I didn't notice that I actually hate that. Until I noticed a thing, but I didn't know what the thing was. You know what I mean?
Yes. I have a tangent here. Let me preface it by asking, have you ever seen the movie The Room? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm familiar, but I've never seen it.
Okay. I just watched it for the first time, and I've
heard it's terrible. technically terrible.
It is exactly that. And so it's a cult favorite.
Yep.
I watched it for the first time recently, and my parallel here, my tangent here is that like I have trouble watching movies, watching any kind of media.
Yeah.
Because my brain is so curious about how this thing was made and so aware of how this thing was made. That I have trouble consuming the whole thing, and I'm just consuming each part, and I'm aware that like there was someone holding a microphone over these actors' heads, and I'm aware that they did this in multiple takes. On a more meta level, I'm aware that someone wrote this script. And so my brain goes like, well, why did they write this script?
Yeah, I wouldn't even think of it. That's wild as fuck.
And like, to me, with like writing a script is always a weird thing of like, someone took a $30 million gamble on making this movie.
Yeah.
Why was this thing worth $30 million to them? Is it that, and usually the answer is that there's like a political motive here, that there is like, we're trying to like, if it's a war movie, they're usually trying to say like, war is good, join the military, or trying to say war is bad, this is bad. There's often like any political hot topic is often, to me, what I found is like, this is one way that people are trying to communicate their parts and use their power and their money to communicate to the masses and make people align with whether they think abortion is good or bad, or whatever the political topic may be there. And so I have trouble watching a movie because I'm so aware, not just of like the micro of how do they film this scene, but the macro of like, why did they make this scene? Why did someone write the script? Why did they choose to do it this way? I was having this conversation recently with Jake Miller from No I Scene, who I assume you know in some capacity.
He's the homie. He's the very good friend. Yes.
And Jake was like, well, I have that thing with production, but it doesn't make me hate music. I can still like music. And it was this kind of bizarre or fascinating to me, the kind of fork here of like, I was never a big movies person growing up, but now I'm even less of a movies person. And watching The Room made me feel like seen in a way of like, as you watch The Room, it is a terrible movie. And that's why people like it, or why it is known. But as you watch, as like actors are communicating, you're very aware of like, there is a script that they're reading from. This is not a human interaction. You're very aware of like, this set makes no sense. This is a dumb thing. And that's how everything feels to me. It's like, I'm hyper aware of like, these are adults being paid to play pretend, to read a script that someone else wrote. And so watching the movie was like a beautiful, like, that's it. That's how I see everything else I've ever consumed in my entire life. I'm curious then for you as an audio person, as you've gotten now into audio production here, like, are you on the Jake Miller side of like, well, now I understand audio production, but I still like music, and I almost like it more now because I'm aware of the thing. Whereas for me on the movie side, it's like I like them less now because I know too much of how the sausage is made. Where are you kind of in this like spectrum of knowing how the sausage is made?
I think the difference, and this is just speculation, I think the difference between like audio and visual is that like audio, I can't really speak on this. That's technically not, I can't like say this for certain. But I feel like there's a level of magic in visual that isn't really there in audio. Because you can kind of arrive at the same destination in various ways. This is a novice talking about video. Whereas like music, like it's in a way you're like, oh, if I use this and this, like I'll get 90% of the way there, and I don't really have to like worry about that last 10%. Whereas in movies, it's like, no, I have to do this specific thing if I want this to happen in a way. And you know that that's why they did the thing that they did. Where in music, it could be like, oh, I went all the way around and I still got to that place. And you're like, what the fuck, really? I'm definitely to answer your question, I'm on the Jake Miller side, where it's kind of one of those things where I really would love to learn more music theory because it ties right into that. But with audio, I think it helped me understand why I like what I like. And it kind of allows me to like immediately distinguish like, oh, I like this or I don't like this right off the bat with just the mix or whatever it may be. I might still like the music. But there's a lot of bands that I have a hard time listening to because the mix is bad. So that's what I would say is I don't necessarily dislike music more, but I like what I like more. But the stuff that I don't like, I actually don't like now because I'm like, this could have been so much, like the song is good, but this sounds like trash. And that would be the negative side, I would say, is that's what like sticks out to me. Like there's certain bands I'm like, why the fuck did they just like record this better?
Is there also then like the before the show we're talking about like King 810 and King 810 was on Downbeat. I think maybe we mentioned up front, but we're definitely talking about it before the show. And one of the things that they said is like they recorded their 3 albums this year. They're all gonna be live albums. So they're gonna do them all like in one take. Because they are so fed up with everything sounding the same and everyone using I think the example they used was the like Gojira plugin and the neural DSP guitar stuff that I assume is more. I have to know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure you're very intimately familiar with this thing.
Of course, I am.
Of like there are sounds that everyone is using right now. And that also, to him, was almost like off-putting. Like I'm tired of everyone using this sound. I want to do something that sounds like us. for you then as an audio guy, as you're getting into and becoming aware of all these sounds and all these plugins that everyone uses all the time, are you tired of hearing them? Are you like hearing like, damn, X band used this thing so well? Or is it like, I'm tired of hearing this, I want to find something unique?
So I'm going to circle back to a point you made earlier, because this is like exactly what you were kind of talking about. I think that, yes, that can happen. And a lot of people use those tools to arrive at the same location, almost on purpose. Yeah. I think one of the huge things that people overlook, and it's a perfect example, is that like when I record bands, like I could easily make every band sound the same. But the human hand being involved is going to make people sound different no matter what. Yeah. And I think that I wish more people kind of allowed that to occur and not go, oh, you like pick really light. Like I want to try to make it sound like you're picking really hard. I personally would rather tell the person in the room, like, if you don't like the sounds, you have to play different. You have to like create a different sound. And I think that's way more organic. And if the person's like, oh no, like I'm cool with this, or like when I play, it sounds like this. And they're like, oh, it sounds so good when you play it. Or like, it sounds so different when you play, or whatever it is. I think those things need to be leaned into a little bit more. I totally agree with like a lot of things sounding the same. And I don't think they have to. I think people make those decisions where they're like, even the people that are recording are like, oh, I want my mix to sound like that band. And I personally, I'm not into that. Yeah. I'm not into that. I'm into having like influences and like being like, I'll give you a reference. Like I give Cody references for the Euclid stuff, but I also know he is technically an artist and he has his own sounds. His ears are different than mine. And you go to people. That's one of the first things I always ask, like when I'm with a band, I'm like, you know, what are you going for? Like I have my ears work a certain way and I'm going to suggest certain things that like I like. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go with them. But like, if you came to me, do you want the full spectrum? Am I just hitting record? Because if that is what you want, that's fine. But I usually tell them like, my shit sounds a certain way. You don't come to me if you don't want it to sound that way. I'm not ever going to be upset by that. The first client I ever had, the first paying client, did not use my mix. And I was totally okay with that. To this day, I make sure that they are very aware that I'm okay with that. It's a bummer, but I'm okay with it. I have to be because I wasn't what they wanted. Would be crazy if I was mad at them for that.
100%.
You know what I mean?
I am almost offended when people say that I have a style, and it sounds like a similar thing to what you're saying here of like, in my belief, and I guess let me preface by saying like, I know that is why I've done enough things that like, I must have a style, right? I'm only one brain. And my joke here is always like, I only have so many good ideas. Yeah. I understand that I can't have a new good idea every day. To some degree, my good idea now is the same thing as it was a year ago, and it's some evolution of what it was 5 years ago. Yeah. There's some finite amount of good ideas and styles and preferences that influence me. And I am, no matter how much I try to be original, I am always going to be derivative of those things that I made. 100%. The flip side here is like, I think that everything I do, or I intend everything I do to be the optimization of what the band wants me to do. Yes. And so I really enjoy being flexible in that way. And like, my job is not to make the music video that I want. My job is to make the music video that best fits this circumstance and these people and their preferences and what they want and what their voice should be. Inevitably, it's going to have 10% of me in there. Yep. But I almost, and again, almost like I understand when people say that you have a style. It's like, I understand that they're saying something that they think is flattering. Yeah. So I have to hear that what they're saying that they think is flattering and hear it as flattering. Yep. But I almost take it as like I gotta be more unique. I gotta be more original. I gotta be more customized because I don't ever want this to be a one size fits all application. I want to make sure that every single thing I do is precisely customized to what you want to such a degree that it is almost not a representation of me anymore, that I am actualizing your dreams and not influencing by mine, which again is completely impossible. It is unreasonable.
I think once again, you need a balance between the two. You need a balance. Yeah. I think you want to be higher, like you want to have a style at some points, because it's like if people don't want the thing that you make, then is it bad regular or just bad? You don't want either of those. But you also want to be able to be like, oh, I'm a jack of all trades and can kind of flex and bend and be like, yeah, I don't normally do this, but like I have a brain and I like being creative and I feel that I could do this. I just recorded a band a few months ago. They're more on like the rock side, and it was definitely different for me. And I was like, I'm not going to use any of the normal shit that I use. I'm going to do things as different as I can because I think this band deserves a different process. Unfortunately, I still am new and it still is very me. And I think it's super different, but it fucking isn't technically, you know what I mean? But I felt that I was like serving the band and I hope that they're happy with the outcome and stuff like that. But I think there's, once again, you got to find a balance between those two things, man.
Yeah. It's a weird thing where I think as an audio engineer, like I think engineer is almost like a prestigious title. Like it gives you authority. And for me as a director, it's like director gives authority. It is not like in my brain, it's a supporting role. I feel like I am supporting your vision. Director as a term is not a supporting role. Director's term is an authoritarian role. Like it is a person who's in charge, who's spreading their influence on the thing. And so it's almost this like identity crisis for me. Like I want so bad to be a chameleon, to be able to flex whatever you do. My job title is inherently against that. It is inherently that they are coming to me because they've seen other things I did and they want it to look like that.
That's why I ask. I straight up ask. Obviously, it's different for video. Because you're like,
it's a similar thing. Of send me a commercial, send me a music video. Like, send me a music movie,
exactly.
Whatever.
Exactly.
References.
You got to ask. I also just straight up ask. Like I said, I ask like, do you want my input? Because if you don't, like, that's also totally fine. Like, I am very comfortable just recording this, and I know I'll make it sound good. But do you want me to have input? And like, sometimes I feel kind of like guilty about this, but I'll like kind of frame it as like, do you want me to actually like put in effort on this? Because especially with some of the bands I work with, just going back to experience, I just don't have the experience that I have. I've been lucky to like once again be around very great songwriters and people that I'm like learning insane shit from. I have to shout out a new. This is also dropping hot info. I'm in a new band. It's a fucking rock band.
Yo, relax. Dude.
I know.
Chill the fuck out. Leave some bands to the rest of us.
But the best part is that once again, this is a band that I'm not in charge in. I joined a band that a lot of the songs were already written, and I just love the music is incredible.
Awesome. Okay.
But the two people that I'm in a band with are, in my opinion, incredible songwriters, and it's something where I've always struggled. I definitely can figure out like the deathcore, metalcore realm. But in my opinion, that's like the lowest tier of songwriting. I think it's unfortunately pretty easy to write a metal song, especially an original one these days, because there's a lot of tropes. I have always been fascinated with pop music. And that's like one of the biggest things is like making a good song, regardless of genre, is like totally different in my brain now. Totally different thing. So I always ask, like, do you want me to suggest things? Because like you might just hear your own music and you being exposed to certain people and certain things, like you learn a lot, dude. I would be lying if like I said, or people would be lying if they said that like, oh, I don't need to like learn from people. I think that's one of the best things to do is just simply be in a room with someone. They go, what about this? And you're like, holy fucking, I didn't even fucking think about that. What an insane idea. And it would have never ever existed if you weren't sitting here and saying that. And when we did only one song at my house, everything else they've done together. With the new band, like just being in the room with the two of them and they're like shooting ideas back and forth. I'm like, this is so cool. So I always ask bands, going back to your original question, I always ask bands like, do you want me to have input? Because I'm going to stop recording and go play a different note right there. But if you don't want me to do that, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Because I also am here as a service. It's both things. You got to ask because I also don't like to overstep my boundaries. And I think a big thing too is kind of like not having ego with your ideas and being like, I suggest this. I think it would be better. But if you don't want to do it, if you're hard on this part and you really think this is better, like it's your fucking song. I have no place here. I'm not in this band. Even if I was in the band, if you really feel that way, then let's just fucking roll with it. You got to trust these people and you got to have the people trust you too. That's like the biggest part is having the trust between the artist and you, for sure.
I was chatting with someone recently who owns like a landscaping company, and we were kind of both admiring of like it's all the same shit.
All of it.
Like it's all about people and building relations, building connections
it's crazy,
with people,
bro.
and being able to actualize whatever they want.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if you're doing their lawn or their music video or their song.
I have so many chef friends,
whatever.
and it's funny because we'll talk about the same shit where it's like you're still serving people. It's not music. You're serving food, but like the grind and how it operates is almost identical with everyone, especially when you're dealing with people.
I almost feel ashamed when I bring this up or embarrassed when I bring this up sometimes. the show title here is From Everyone. It came from the idea of learning something from everyone.
Yeah.
Which at the start was like almost like an idealistic thing of like, I didn't know what to name the show and I didn't want to call it the Peter JT show because I felt so narcissistic and wrong.
Yep.
And so this idea was like, okay, well, there's 100 reasons the show got going. One of them was me being like, I feel like I'm on an island sometimes. And part of being me is that like, and I think audio engineers, a similar thing is like, you're never in the room with another audio engineer. It is very rare, if ever, that an audio engineer is sat next to another audio engineer going, how would you do this?
Yeah.
And as a video guy for me, it was almost as an island of like, I'm never on set with the people I consider my peers. I never see them. I talk to them on Instagram kind of, but like no one ever hires both of us. That'd be a conflict. There's a very good reason not to hire both of us here. Yeah. And so the show then became an exercise of me to be like chatting with people that I am interested by and being like, all right, how do I assert that I'm not on an island and realizing that like we all kind of are going through the same thing. It's just in a different flavor of the thing. Yeah, dude. But it's all the same thing. Yeah. And so hearing you say this idea of like working with all these different genres of bands is a way to like make yourself better and take ideas from different places is almost like a validating thing of like, from everyone. From everyone means everyone. And that might mean that it's a pop song that has no interest to you as a metalcore, metal, hardcore guy, whatever. But it is the same shit. Then for me as a video person, it's a fascinating thing of like, I also appreciate that like a good video is a good video. That is irrelevant to whether it is a metal video, a pop video, a country video. Oh yeah, dude. And so I enjoy going back. Yeah. This idea of like, I'm in a new band every month. It's, I think for me, a very healthy challenge of like, I've done country videos before. Yeah. I've done gospel videos before. I've done rap. I've done like, I feel like at this point I've done everything. And it's a really healthy thing of like, okay, this is not my comfort zone. This is not what I am used to. This is not what I would consume typically. What is good here? And then how do I bring that back to metal? And to me, it's all the same thing of like, ultimately the goal of the video is to capture attention, and attention is a very universal currency. And it doesn't matter exactly how I'm doing that. There are very basic principles of like, well, we want to make sure that in the first 10 seconds, they have introduced some novel idea that is novel enough to make them watch the rest of the thing. And that's a very fun, that's a universal principle. That doesn't matter if I'm working on whatever, insert any, if it's a movie, it's a commercial, if I'm working for Nike or if I'm working for Lorna Shore, it is the exact same principle of in the first 3 seconds, I want to make sure I capture their attention. And by working in all these different platforms, different mediums, different genres, it is good for me to grow and be like, all right, what does this thing look like? And how does it look in different forms? Then I can come back to the Euclid video that does feel very like homey and comfortable for me and be like, all right, here's how I would approach that problem. And it's funny to hear you say the same thing about kind of being different bands and recording different bands of like, it's the same shit of like, maybe a rock song, classic rock song is not your bread and butter. It's not exactly what you would go listen to on Spotify if you were to pull up your most recent on repeat kind of thing. But it is the same thing of how do I make a good rock song? And then that also informs how to make a good Euclid song.
I think it's hilarious too, because like a lot of people try to be unique, but it's unfortunate that
it's impossible.
I think most people react and live very similarly when it comes to just like listening to music or watching videos. And the reason why, to your point, I bring that up about like different genres and like especially the older I get, if someone says they don't like pop music, I just think they're idiots. And not
call me stupid.
And not in the sense that it's like they're just unaware. I think one of the big things from pop music is it's called popular music for a reason. And there's obvious things that draw the majority of people into it. And I think there's a lot of things that can be taken from that. And even if you go technical death metal, brutal slamming death metal, if you ask like, oh, what's your favorite part of these 5 songs? It's going to be the same style parts. It's going to be the heavy part. It's going to be the part with his crazy vocal, crazy drums. So all those little tropes are all patterns and repeatable, and it's all not formulaic because every song should be different. And I think directly ripping things off doesn't do anything for anyone. But there's certain things where you're like, if we put that thing from that song in this song, this part's going to fucking slam because everyone's going to, there's a reason why the word trope exists, because it's like, that shit has to come from somewhere. It's very rare that you get truly original ideas. And sometimes the actual first original idea might actually have sucked. And it's like, it gets really good when you like blend it with like something that already exists or something like that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's, I was gonna say that's what takes me from that. But
I'm about to piss my pants. I made it through episode 99 episodes without taking a break. I gotta take a quick break.
So sick, dude. I'm gonna join you, dude.
Same time.
Let's pause this
come
shit.
back and wrap this episode up. All right. Success.
We're accomplished. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Dual piss situation.
99 episodes. I've been good so far.
Coors Light, baby. Colorado River water.
Today's the one. Yes, we've done like an hour 15ish, so we're past our hour here. So yeah, do a couple more things and wrap up here. The one big thing on my to-do list, and there's waters here or more beverages over there if you would like them.
I might have one more. I
Please,
might do it.
I don't know if I have more Coors. I think I have a Guinness up in the fridge,
That's
or we
fine.
got White Claws
I'll
here.
take a White Claw.
If that floats your boat here. I will keep on chatting while you do that. The story here, and one of the things on my to-do list here that I was mandatory to ask you today is that
wait.
James Trask was here on episode 91.
Yes, he was.
So yeah, I guess 8 episodes ago, so 16 weeks ago now, which again feels like he was here last month, but he was absolutely not here last month.
Nope.
He told a story about meeting you, and I would love to hear this from your perspective.
Okay.
So the story he told is that I learned from this that James is the youngest of 5 kids, 6 kids.
He's in the middle.
Okay.
He's in the middle of 6.
Okay. In the middle of a bunch of kids.
Yes.
And so he's with his older brother, who at the time to him was God.
Yeah.
And they're going up. His brother's in a band, and his brother goes, "We're going to go pick up this kid to go play in our band." I think maybe play drums, if I remember this correct as well.
Yep. Terrible drummer.
And so,
literally could barely play. Remarkable that I said yes.
And so James describes like getting in a van, being like, "I don't know where we're going." And you walk out of the house, and James goes, "Oh, fuck, I know that kid. He's the bad kid that I'm told to stay away from, that I think I should stay away from."
Yeah.
You immediately get in the car, start smoking, and then ash into the roof of the car.
Yes, 100%. Dude, you know what's actually hilarious?
What is your 2 cents?
So,
what is your version of this?
He was completely spot on except for one thing, and it's actually worse. What I did is worse than what James said. So I was like grateful that he didn't actually remember this properly.
Okay.
So the window wasn't closed.
Okay.
The window was open.
Nice.
And I just fucking missed.
Nice.
It wasn't like, which I guess is slightly better, but maybe not. But yeah, I came out of his house. At this point, I was like, I think I was 17, definitely like regular teenage kid.
Yeah.
To James, because James was young. And to James, I probably was like a frightening, terrible degenerate. So that's definitely true. And yes, I did put a fat hole in his brother's roof of his car. A fat hole in the roof of his car. But like I said, the fucking window was open. I fucking just went right up into his ceiling and missed the little gap I gave myself in the window. And I think he said a cigarette, but it was a fucking clove. That's a piece of information that needs to be in there. We were smoking cloves, baby.
Only the best, more the best.
Yeah, dude.
Do you identify, like, when he described you as a bad kid, it was so funny because I know you as a teddy bear. I knew he was a chatty guy, a guy who's very happy in public. I'm very happy to be around. You've always been very warm to me. I feel like you're a very like outspoken, warm person who I'm happy to be with. Like, there are some people where it's like, I don't know if they like me, I don't know if they dislike me. It's like, you're always very vocal. Like, you're the boy, you're the homie, you're king.
Yep. Thank you, dude.
I mean that in a very flattering way. I was surprised then, but I guess that's also the function of age. I guess if the age difference here is also relevant here.
That's really all it was. I smoked weed. I smoked weed, and I was like the loud, not like I wasn't necessarily loud, but I like listened to metal and like wore Whitechapel t-shirts and like, I don't know. I was just fucking, I was always outgoing, especially like when I got into high school. And yeah, I was just like the kid who smoked weed and like was goofy. I was myself just back then.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I don't know where he would have necessarily been told that.
Yeah.
Because it's not like his parents really knew who I was. I think it was just the fact that I was just, the metalhead stoner kid. It's like, oh, that kid listens to like, because at that point, James like listened to like the Grateful Dead and like, I don't know, 311 and shit. And, like metal had not crossed his path at all. He listened to, he had a pretty eclectic taste. He always has, but yeah, metal was not the thing he listened to. So yeah, I was like,
at that point he was a jazz band kid.
Yeah, you know, like I feel like, I feel like that.
I wish he was in the room to like comment on this. So I feel like I'm paraphrasing things he said on the air to make sure that I'm giving his side of the story.
I feel like the cliche is like in the movie when like the nice girl goes to like pick up the bad boy and he like opens his door and there's like metal like music just like blaring like when he opens the door, like it's just coming like emitting from the house. Like I feel like that was probably James's like experience where like him and his brother went to pick me up and like I came out and I was like, I don't even know. It's not like I was like crazy. I wasn't like wearing leather or shit. You know what I mean? But like I feel like that's like that's what I mean. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I get that like cliche as fuck like. Smoking a cigarette, like all the tropes are just there for like degenerate metalhead pothead, but it's just funny because obviously that's like not really who I am. But
I guess the other piece of context here is that James is his bandmate and Shapethrower now.
Yes,
for folks who's listening who didn't know who James was.
Yes, and one of my oldest friends. That was hilarious. That was the first day I met him. It was his 15th birthday, 16th, 15th birthday, I think.
Okay,
yeah, because I just turned 18, I think. I don't remember exactly when it was, but yeah. So I was probably just a scary old weird high schooler to him. You know what I mean?
There's a couple stories I look back on as like, thank God I got to hear that. And the show is a vehicle, and that is one of them. Of like,
dude.
That wasn't one of the things on my to-do list with James that day. And as he mentioned, it was like, I'm in euphoria. I'm so glad.
Yeah. I'm hyped. I'm hyped. He ended up talking about a lot of things in that episode. I was like really hyped came out because it's just like mad random shit like with Shapethrower. Like everyone thinks Shapethrower is like a brand new band, and we're just fucking not at all. I've been Shapethrower for like about 8 or 9 years now, technically. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
I think that's how most good ideas happen, though, is like nothing happens overnight. And there is this like the romanticization of an overnight success. Yeah, I don't think that exists, period. Literally at all. Like, maybe like the band President is like that new band that came out where it's like an industry plant kind of thing.
But I've read that he is like been in huge bands and like was crew for even bigger bands. And it's like, dude, that's not. Yeah. I feel like, honestly, and not that I have like crazy fans that I have to debunk this for, but I feel like a lot of people like often ask me like, oh, like, how did you get, and it sucks to say, but like, I've just been doing this for 14 years nonstop. I talk to everybody, try to be as nice as I can, professional. That's really all it is.
I am new to you, lucky, but I am not new.
Yeah, I'm new. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, and I think on the other side of that is like with Euclid, like a lot of people are like, oh, you guys are pros. Like, you've been doing this forever. And I'm like, yeah, but we're a brand new band. We started in 2021, technically. We've been around for 4 years. Like, yeah, we had this stuff with Will, but we never played live with Will. We never like we didn't take promos with Will. There's no, you know what I mean? There's no evidence aside from audio that that band existed then. We started in 2021 when Matt and Kevin joined. That's how I feel about that band. And
but even then, of course, Matt has done everything. Kevin has done a lot.
Exactly.
Like, as you go through the members of the band, it's
which is like a kind of double-edged
y'all
sword.
are new in a sense.
Yeah.
But this is not like y'all woke up out of bed when it's let's start a band. This was y'all, each of y'all in your own aspects are 10 years into bands going, all right, how do we actualize this thing and make this thing work? And that's where Euclid could spawn from.
Yep. And I think that is where I've gotten all of my opportunities and whatever you want to call success from is simply just fucking going and doing it, dude.
Absolutely. We'll end this fucking ship here.
Yeah, I like that.
I like to wrap up here with a couple things here. One of them is, I guess one of them we talked about last time, so we'll talk about this one. The currently learning aspect of this. So I think part of my coming on the show and part of me starting the show was realizing like everyone is still in progress. And I think for me, especially a couple years ago when this thing started, was me looking up and being like, well, everyone's got it figured out. And I'm the only one who doesn't have it figured out.
Yeah, yep.
Which is, of course, completely not true.
Correct.
What I like to understand there is in like, what is something you're currently working on? So for the people who look at Euclid or look at Shapethrower and go, they're headlining, they got to figure it out. Or look at Edict and go, damn, he's got it. Audio engineer. Like there's so many things that from the outside, people may say like, he's got it all figured out.
Yep.
I know from what you said today and from firsthand, like it doesn't ever feel like we've got it all figured out. What's something you're currently learning? What is something you're working on getting better right now? What is kind of on the cutting edge of Matty's brain of like, what are you on YouTube looking up at night when you go to sleep?
It's mostly right now, mixing stuff. If like I'm doing like actual learning, like you said, like looking things up. Yeah. Would be audio.
What specifically? Like how to use a compressor better? How to use an EQ better? Like I'm
honestly,
over my head here,
it sounds so vague, but literally all of it.
Yeah.
The one thing I've learned about audio production, it's a lot of very small moves that end up in the grand scheme of things. And I'm learning just essentially new tricks all the time, mostly from my partner. The way our setup is I do a good chunk of the work. I don't want to ever put a percentage on it because if he watches this, he fucking won't, dickhead. But if he watches this and he's like,
I'll send him this clip specifically.
Yeah, you should. He would love that. I do a ton of the work, and he, at this point, which is I'm getting better and better, he's kind of essentially just polishing it. But when I go certain projects, I'm like, I want to come to your house, let you open my session, and I want to watch like what you would do. And that's like one of the biggest things I've been learning. And then on like the more like kind of like emotional level, I would say I've been learning how to just do my best and appreciate that because a lot of people going back to what I said, like a lot of people ask me like, how do you get going so hard? How do you get like these opportunities during 3 sick bands? And it's all just regular ass work, man. It's no different. Just being more open-minded is the hardest part because I'm really bad at just like putting so much on myself. And when other people talk to me, I'm like, all right, I guess it's like shit's really not that bad. Or like, even if we do it not really the way I thought we would do it, like that really isn't that fucking bad. And if it is bad, now we know to never do it that way again. And you have to stay positive, which is fucking hard, especially in the world we live in, man. So yeah, I would say that learning how to fucking use EQs and compressors and keeping an open mind are the things I'm trying to learn.
I love that. I applying to both parts. The first part is working with your audio partner. I'm always like so envious of those relationships because
I have to say I'm incredibly lucky that I have him. I don't really, he's my mentor. I would straight up say that. I would not be where I am recording without him. I've learned everything from him. Continue. I had to say that. He deserves the praise.
Absolutely, yes. Good to give credit where credit is due. And I think that's one thing I appreciate about the show is I get to bring people on who be like, who do you look up to? Who do you think is cool? I don't know how many of them ever see it, but I mathematically someone has seen it and go, damn, that makes me feel good.
I'm going to make sure I'm going to be like, find this time code and be like,
beautiful. So yes, one part of that is like, I never get to see my peers edit videos or get to see them on set. And there's some part of me of like, I would love to go hold a light for someone and just because I'm curious of how they work on set. So I'm always appreciative of this moment where you get to sit in studio with the person and be like, how do you do this thing?
A lot of people don't get that. I agree.
And that's a valuable part of learning that like I've never quite figured out how to like fit in to my life here. And I would like to, that is something I would like to get better at myself.
On the negative side, I also think people aren't willing to go like, oh, I don't know a lot about this and I need to just like sit and shut my mouth. I think a lot of people, myself included at times, like there'll be times where I'm like, oh, I could crush this. Like I'm not worried about it at all. And I'm like, wait a second, Julian, help me. Help me. Somebody help me real quick. Like I actually have no fucking idea what I'm doing. And that's what once again, keeping an open mind and real, even taking failures as positives, being like, you know what? Ask for help, dude. You're dying right now. Ask for fucking help.
I am admittedly terrible at that. And last week I had someone on here of like, whatever. This is the conversation I had last week, so I guess I shouldn't go into it too much because it happened last week. So if you want to hear it, go fucking listen to that version.
Yeah, hell yeah.
The version of it.
Listen to that episode.
But the gist of it was that like, do you want a whole grape or half a watermelon? And this is me being like, I'm bad at asking for help. I like my whole grape. The obvious answer here is I should want half a watermelon. I should take the help and have a bigger and better thing that is not entirely mine, but is an objectively bigger and better thing. And I'm pretty happy holding my fucking grape. And so my challenge in my life right now is accepting like, hey, there's a version of this that is scalable, that is bigger and better than me. And I have to be willing to seek that out and be comfortable accepting that this grape is not entirely mine anymore. That there is some part of it that has to be in someone else's hands for this thing to grow exponentially from the grape to the watermelon. The other part of this you mentioned was like smelling the roses kind of thing of like trying to be grateful and be present in it. I always come back. There's there's a Jack Harlow song who is a funny person. I always laugh when I reference Jack Harlow on the show. But it's a song called Keep It Light. And at the end of it, it's like a voicemail that plays from his mom. And his mom is saying like, today you're gonna be on set of a music video. Take a minute to look around at all these people that you've brought together. And all these people that get to have a job because you have a job, because you followed your dream. And of course, my life is very different than Jack Harlow's, right?
Naturally,
I'm not bringing together and making people hundreds of thousands of dollars because of what I do. The flip side is it did really resonate with me of like, when I'm on set, it's like, I'm grateful that I get to be a part of the best day of someone's week, month, year, maybe life sometimes, right? Like there are so many jobs that we do.
So you're making a memory for them or with them, I should say.
And I look at so many jobs of like the hospital worker, the fire, the PD, the whatever. There's so many jobs that like you see people on a bed, a mechanic, right? Like no one goes to a mechanic because their car is working well. They go to a mechanic because something's fucked up and they can't figure it out and they need help. And this is a catastrophic problem because now they can't get to work or whatever. And it's like, that's most jobs. Most jobs are problem solving in that way of you see people on a bad day. And I am so grateful that my job is to see people on what is hopefully their best day or one of their best days or a good day objectively. And like my job is to honor that and to make it feel like a good day. But the flip side then it's like, I really make an effort of like, as I'm filming to look around and be like, these 10 people are in the room. They wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. And they might have someone else in the room. So maybe they would still be here in some context, but today they're here because I am here. And no matter how good or bad my day is, and this has been like a very active thing for me, is like look around, like smell the roses to an example of like, no matter how good or bad I'm feeling, no matter how hungry or tired or sleepy or sweaty or whatever is challenging me that day, it's like, this is a good thing that I am a part of, and trying to really like make an active effort of like take 30 seconds and just see the people laughing and go, they're not laughing, they're not happy because of me, exclusively because of me. But I am a factor in that.
You're the catalyst.
And I think with an audio production thing, it's a similar thing. Being on stage, right? Is like you get to look at the people in the crowd and it's like, they might have been at home in a circumstance that is not ideal. They might have been dealing with a breakup. They could be dealing with a trouble at home. They could be dealing with 1,000 different things that are ailing them. And for 25 minutes, for 20 minutes, for an hour, whatever that number of time is, they get to watch you play drums.
Yep.
And whatever you think about your playing drums, whatever you think about playing bass or guitar, whatever you think about this thing doesn't kind of fucking matter in that moment.
Nope.
To some degree, all that matters is that there's these people, it might be 5 people, it might be 500, it might be 5,000, whatever that number is, they are having a better experience, a better life because of what you're doing.
Yep.
And I really try to lean into that and like be aware of that, of like, I'm not changing the universe.
Yep.
I can't solve our conflicts in the Middle East right now.
Yep.
I can make these 10 lives a little bit better by what I'm doing. And that is something that helps me sleep at night. It helps me feel like I'm not doing this for narcissistic reasons, that this is a valuable thing that I'm contributing to society and that I should keep contributing to society.
Yeah. To connect to an older point from this conversation, that's what helped me get a little bit more comfortable with drums.
Yeah.
Is I was like, there's so many sets where like, we know every millisecond of this music. If I play a single part like shit, like no one notices. They're here to just watch us play.
Yep.
And as long as we don't really fuck up, like no one's gonna notice.
And
like it just it allows you to just put a lot less pressure on yourself, because you're like, oh, these people are here to see our band at baseline. That is incredible. We brought them in the door, so we must be doing something correct.
Yep.
They must like our music in some capacity, or they might at least like to watch us live. Even they might never listen to us at home, but like they put on a good show or they sound good live, whatever it may be. And that's like the kind of shit that I have to remind myself of, like, oh, perfection is only up here for me. I mean, obviously people have standards. That's a whole different conversation, but the perfect that I am envisioning and want to experience is only up here. It's only in my brain, dude.
I will end this with the advice that I've said 1,000 times on here, but I say it off, or I guess maybe not 1,000, because that'd be 10 times an episode. Mathematically, it's not like, but I've said it 50 times on here. Or
Hell
something.
Yeah. That's only twice an episode. You're good, dude.
Something like that. Yes. And to me, it's this idea that everything is done at 80%. That most ideas are done at 80%. And it's always been troubling for me because like my brain is perfection. I want every video to go to 100%, 110%, 120%. I want to find what 125% looks like.
Yeah. I don't think it exists.
Doesn't exist. I often use an example that you are the perfect person to relate it to. In the Warrior video, I had a big thing where the rocks in like the forest scene at the end don't match the trees.
Okay.
The trees are from like Australia and the rocks are from like Sweden or something. Like the kinds of mosses, the kinds of vegetation don't align.
That's fucking awesome.
That to me, and I'm probably getting those countries wrong, but like the idea is that there are different geographic regions. That to me is a fucking nightmare. That to me is a big stressful thing. But I was like, it looks right to me. It feels right to me. These are the resources that feel good to me.
But they're not correct.
Biologically, there's some biologist who is fucking pissed off seeing those, and that knows that I fucked up.
You should be hyped up biologists is watching the Warrior video. That's how I feel.
Also, fair enough. And to me, it gave me like a lot of stress of like, I need to find the things that match, and things that match just didn't feel the way that I wanted them to feel. And that stresses me out. And so then it comes back to this idea that like most things are at 80%. Most people never fucking saw any vegetation or any moss. They heard a song.
Dude, there were people that thought that was real. So there you go.
Which is National Geographic would argue is impossible. And so to me, it was like, that's where this advice comes in of like, most things are done to 80% in the context of like playing a show even is a new version of this. But like for me with the video, most things are done 80%. Most people never got that far. Most people never got anywhere close to thinking about that. With your set is the same thing. Like most people saw a band on stage and they heard a thing. You were done by the time you set your drum kit up to some degree in pleasing them. And by having the 14 years of experience you talked about, like you were already done. What you did on the drum kit was going to be good enough regardless of whether you hit the snare at the right time or not, or whether you played a fill or who cares. And so I found a lot of peace in that, which is also a problem for me is like I want to make sure that everything is done to 100% and I want to keep exceeding that. But you're right. The perfection is up here. This is all an internal thing, and that most things are done in the bulk of it, and that people are never really going to be aware of this. And so there's some peace and some freedom there of like, okay, my best is good enough. And it will never feel that way. But objectively, statistically speaking, numerically speaking, it is more than good enough.
And dude, and I've learned also the hard way that you can absolutely ruin great things. Ruin incredible things by trying too hard. That's I mean, in the mixing and audio world, that, dude, it's crazy. The classic, like, mix something, wake up the next morning, listen to it, and you're like, this sounds fucking terrible. That shit happens all the time, dude. All the time.
And
everybody is their own worst enemy when it comes to this shit. It's really, we've only cliches. That's the only thing we've said all day is cliches, but they're cliches for a reason, bro.
Also true. I don't think everyone's about their own worst enemy. I think being good is being your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
I think there are some people who wake up and go, my shit doesn't stink.
Oh, I see what you mean.
They also stink.
Yeah. Yep.
But like, if you're not your own worst enemy, then I would argue do some soul searching. And maybe they just have a degree of like self-actualization that I can't even begin to fathom. So I think it's impossible.
Yep.
But like in talking to people in this show, one of the big things I've learned is that like, I told the story last week, or whatever, 2 weeks ago, but again, my brain goes in waves, and this is something on my mind recently. Is that Brian Will from Currents on, or Willie, I always feel like I say his last name wrong. Yeah. But he was on here, and I was kind of like, I feel like you've done it. I feel like you've gotten your voice to the place. Like, what's next? How do you get better from here?
Yep.
And he said something to the effect of like, I'm still in high school. Like, I'm still in the infancy of what I think good is.
Yeah.
And it was this beautiful kind of thing of like, okay, so even for the guy who has seemingly done it all, who has played all over the world, played all the festivals, he's still going inside of like,
I don't think I got it yet.
I don't think I'm there yet. He's still looking up at all the other people in the world going, I don't got it. Which to me was an eye-opening thing of like, okay, that is the condition of being good at a thing or trying to be good at a thing.
And just having passion and caring about something. That was me after the All Shapethrower show. Completely the same thing where I was like, I felt on high, but I immediately was like, we have to do that again in like a month and a half. And if we don't do it again, what are we fucking doing? Which is just unrealistic, dude. Just let that be fucking sick, dude. What a dickhead.
Just let it be fucking sick, dude. Episode 99 with Matty Connolly. You are playing all over the Northeast the next couple weeks here. So, yes, Shapethrower, July 19th at Robson, Worcester, August 16th at Fall River VFW. Edict, July 12th at Alchemy in Providence, July 21st at Space Ballroom in Hamden with No Cure. Audio production stuff, Euclid, Tough Luck Festival in Boston, September 6th with Great American Ghost. Warrior music videos out now everywhere. Matty, where can people find you on social media? Where can they tell you that you did awesome? Where can they keep up with you? Where can they reach out to you for audio production stuff?
Everywhere.
Where's the best place to keep up with you?
I would say Instagram. So my handle is my name with no vowels because that's so fucking cool and edgy as fuck.
Yes. You should put a V in.
Yeah, right? I really should. It's MTTHWCNNLLY.
Awesome.
You can DM me there for audio stuff. You can DM me on the Minds Mirror Audio Instagram. I'll answer both places.
Sick.
Fucking hit me up. Love to make some stuff with people, man.
Sick. Go see all the bands. I've said them 1,000 times today, so I'm not going to say them again because I don't have enough oxygen in my lungs to say all the band names again.
Keep your eye out for the new rock band, everybody. Keep your eye out for the new fucking rock band.
A fourth band is coming. As if we have more room on the plate.
It's the best one. I'm sorry, all my other bands. It's the one that's going to bring me success and fame and gold chains and things. And people will actually like it.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
I'll be the judge of that.
Allegedly.
No, beautiful. Go support Matty. Go tell him he's awesome and everything he did. Hit me up if you want a music video. Life's great. Episode 99 from everyone. We done did it. Episode 100 coming up. Beautiful. Have a great life, everyone.